ladies, I just met the hottest girl. Her name's Pamela, and she's a perfect 10. I mean, blonde hair, gorgeous smile, and she just had really bad mono, so you know she does tongues.
Wow, what do you think about that, Daisy?
Yeah.
I think it's cool. Congratulations on your new love.
Guys, I just met the girl of my dreams. Blonde hair, killer smile, recently sick.
It's the same girl.
Wait, yo, J-Dog, you also met a hot blonde this morning?
That's right.
Do you think we should both ask our separate girls to the ice cream social on Friday night?
Yes!
When I wake up in the morning, the alarm gives out a warning. I don't think I'll ever make it on time. By the time I grab my books and I give myself a look, I'm at the corner.
More Boob Tube Boys, more Saved by the Bell, more Spencer Hendricks hosting. That's what you're in store for today. I'm gonna introduce my partners here, my comrades, I guess you could say if we were in a different political system. Van Lee, hello, how are you?
Здравствуйте, comrade.
I was hoping for this.
I am far worse than I was in the last episode, much like the theme song for this episode.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, I feel bad because I forgot to ask you about your welfare. How's your jaw?
Jaw's okay. It is no longer swollen.
I can see it looks perfectly unswollen.
And it got real swollen.
Yeah.
Not as bad as the last time, which was a couple months ago.
This was tame compared to that last time.
It was in some ways and not in others. Tooth pain. So anyway, had some dental work done. But we're back. I'm ready to talk Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, and like I said, it's very remiss of me. We went through an entire episode and I didn't ask once.
I did cry the whole time and you didn't catch on.
Yeah, so I caught it though the second time through, so that's good on me. I'm a good and concerned host. I like caring about my fellow hosts, and I just want that to be recognized. Do you appreciate my hosting ability, Brian Bond?
Absolutely. And my jaw also is feeling a lot better.
Well, I don't think you had a problem.
From all the jaw jacking I was doing on our last episode. Doesn't that mean just like talking?
I thought
talking trash, maybe?
You had that trouble because you ate that whole goat. Because you can unhinge your jaw like a snake.
It's not easy, though. I can only do it like once a year.
Actually, I can't.
And I usually save it for Thanksgiving.
Good.
Well, I think your jaw's sore because of all that right-wing propaganda you were spewing that last episode, which we know that you do.
Yeah, I was talking about how... I don't know how people shouldn't have rights.
It's a general argument.
Well, it is the core, like the crux of the right-wing argument.
Yeah, pretty much. I think we kind of got to the
I
core
would
of
like
that.
to really quickly agree with Van. This theme song
is awesome.
It's really, really rough. And I don't know why exactly. It's
you guys are just mad that the original's gone.
It's like a less lively re-envisioning of the original that does not actually sound... I was kind of hoping they would modernize it, and it actually doesn't sound very modern.
I think they thought they were.
Do you know who sang it? I do.
I assume it's the actor who plays Devontae.
It's Lil Yachty.
Oh, it is?
Mm-hmm. And he cashed that check as quickly as he could.
I'm sure that he did. Lil Yachty's fame from 2017 to... maybe still now, was pretty considerable.
I don't really like to do what I'm about to do because it makes me sound curmudgeonly. Mm-hmm. But I like rap. I don't like any rap that's come out in the last couple of years. It's not for me. And I'm not saying if you like it, you're wrong. It's fine. It's your thing. I like music. I think the new rap is not necessarily music because it's just one drum machine with two noises. And that's it. And then somebody going, yeah.
I think you take issue with the trap beat, the most common percussion used in modern music.
That's it. That's the whole song.
There's occasion that in there also as well. But yeah, this is one of those sorts of intro songs that it's a re-envisioning of the original that's supposed to modernize it, but it just sounds like a stilted version of the original and doesn't take advantage of all of the different visions people have had for popular music in the past 30 years at all.
You're asking quite a bit of them to do that. I don't think that's in the wheelhouse.
We're going to spend this whole episode talking about how we don't like the theme song.
Yeah, I definitely think that they really thought that was going to be, the kids these days will get this. I think they really did think they were updating it. I do. However, you can't really beat that original one. That's a great theme song. This one, I kind of forgot all about it, to be honest. I didn't even really pay any attention to it when you played it just now. So it's not memorable, that's for sure.
And there are no hamburgers and squigglies flying around in the background.
There's a hamburger.
Is there a hamburger?
I wrote it down. There is a hamburger and a skateboard and a couple of things whooshing out of the
I take everything back that I said then. This whole intro rules.
You guys are quite the experts in the introductions to shows. I think we should do an entire side podcast where you
Just
guys
on
analyze
intros.
just a bunch of introductions to old
Well,
shows.
I like the one thing I like about the intro package is it very much is the quickest way to hook someone on your show, or this is how I'm sure people were thinking about it when they were like executives for networks at this time in the 80s or 90s of we need to hook viewers who tune in at the top of the hour. So you have to kind of give away what kind of show you have.
Like
in your
they did in
opening
Renegade?
sequence.
I was going to say, they didn't even explain the show in the intro.
They didn't even full sail explain the entirety of the plot.
I would love to hear how that sounded, though, especially in this new version. I would love to hear the
She was a
premise
good
of the
student
show.
gone bad.
Mr. Belding was a 47-year-old man, and he was good at his job as the principal of Bayside High.
So as you can tell with us discussing the updated theme song, this is the reboot of Saved by the Bell, which actually just aired in November of last year, 2020. And as of now, it's only had these 10 episodes on Peacock. 3 of them are free, including this one if you want to watch it.
Is that what they sound
I
like?
don't know.
Well, we'll have to put that in there just like we did the zebra that one time. This is season 1, episode 3, the Bayside Triangle. It is one of the free ones on Peacock if you don't pay for it. If you're not Van and Brian and want to watch wrestling on it. I don't pay for Peacock. So
I do it for house. Thank you.
Yeah, well, and wrestling. But what I did is I picked one that was free and also involves dates so we could compare the two shows in the closest way possible.
That's generally your prerequisites to cover a show. It has to be free and it has to have dates.
Yeah, I like that part. Free dates. After a theft at Bayside, a Douglas student, and Douglas, we'll talk about, these are students from a less privileged population of the area, and their funds got cut, so they send students from those low-income communities to...
And the funds were cut because Zach Morris fucked up the state
Governor
budget.
Zach Morris. So anyway, we've got a few kids from Douglas, which is a much poorer school, being sent to Bayside, which is a school of a bunch of shitheads. And we find out that a Douglas student becomes a suspect. We don't know why yet. And then Mac and Jamie fall for the same girl. That is what you just heard in the cold open, which is also the cold open of the episode. So you have the whole premise of Mac and Jamie right there and how they like the same girl and don't know it. So the real, before I get into the episode itself, the real difference on the reboot is, of course, while Mac is Zach's son, he's not actually the main character. He's not the one who's doing the asides to the audience. He's not really the main perspective we get here. They switched that up. He's in the show, but he's not the main. I guess he's not really the main inspiration.
Which
for it.
I liked, similar
agree.
to how Jamie is Jesse's son and also is more of just a cast member, but not the POV character.
What I liked about it is that Mac somehow is worse to me than Zach.
I think so too. I don't like Mac at all.
No, one look at him and his stupid blue eyes and his blonde hair. Hitler would look at him and go, okay, this is too much.
You guys, though, he is a very grating character.
Yeah.
This is, I thought, though, really good casting.
Sure.
If you want to
He
cast
does look
Zach
like he could
Morris's
be
child.
Yes, he does look like he could be Mark Paul Gosselaar's son.
And again, much in a similar way, he's very annoying and pushy
Stupid.
and smarmy, kind of like Zach. So they did well, but I think we're supposed to still empathize more with Mac here than I think probably any of us did.
Sure.
Yeah, I believe you're probably right, but they definitely failed at that. At least so far. This is only one season. It got renewed for a second season of 10 episodes, presumably happening sometime this year. So maybe they'll flesh out Mac. Maybe they'll make him more likable in the way he's probably supposed to be.
Maybe they'll have an episode that they call Mac Tonight.
Or Mac and Me.
Ooh. With that kid who falls off the cliff in the wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that old chestnut.
As I mentioned at the end of the last episode, all the main stars reprise their roles except for Dustin Diamond, rest in peace, and Dennis Haskins, do whatever you're doing.
Live in peace.
Yeah.
LIP.
And then we've added some new characters to the mix here. There's quite a few of them. I'll go over them. I didn't look into what they do on the side. Daisy Jimenez is the main character. That's who's the narrator here. She is Haskiri Velazquez, and she is a really ambitious sophomore. She wants to make a name for herself. She's got a lot of fire in her belly. She's trying to change some things for the good. She is a Douglas student who's been sent to Bayside, so she doesn't really fit in, and she's trying to make that whole thing work. She comes, her best friend, Aisha Garcia, comes with her. Aisha is Alicia Pascual Pena. So that's her close friend who's probably in this episode trying a little too hard to fit in Bayside, and they kind of clash a little bit over that. But
So she's the quarterback girl?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, how did you know that?
She said it.
Oh, okay.
I listened.
It's a whole plot line.
Yeah, there's a whole episode about that. I was like, you watched
really?
more, didn't you?
No, she just at one point says, I'm the quarterback.
Okay.
So, I mean, it kind of telegraphed it for me.
Gotcha. No, I didn't notice that line. But I also think maybe you watched more and you're not admitting it. I think you watched the whole. I've
in
seen
between
the whole
house
season.
episodes.
Yes, switch to this.
So there's also Mac that we talked about. That's Mitchell Hogue. I don't know. Hoog.
I would assume Hogue because there's a baseball player that was named that. at one point.
Okay.
Brandon Hogue.
I see. And then we've got Josie Tota, formerly JJ Tota, who plays Lexi Haddad de Fabrizio. Pretty
That's
cool
the
name.
fake name they chose. They went with that one. Good for
Lexi
them.
Haddad de Fabrizio. And then
Mamma mia.
Up and done.
I typed in Jamie Spano and it corrected it just like last time. Last time, what was the typo that it had? I forget, but it was something that wasn't at all what I meant to type in. Mark Voorhees instead of Lark Voorhees.
That's it.
This time it's decided instead of Jamie Spano, it's Jamie Spank.
Oh,
Who
man.
is
That's his porn name when he
it's
grows
gonna-
up.
Probably pretty accurate for what that kid does in his free time. That's Belmont Camelli. Yeah, that's his name.
He's done fighting Dracula in the Castlevania series. And he
Are
comes
you
on this
serious?
one.
Is that real?
Belmont was the family name of all the protagonists of Castlevania.
Oh, I was hoping he was actually in that show. I haven't watched that.
Oh, the anime. No, I
Yeah,
forgot
yeah.
about that. It's actually kind of cool. I don't like animes, but
I mean, it looks like it's interesting. I just it's
Sure.
not my thing.
So we now can, for everyone keeping track at home, Van doesn't like
Anything.
rap music or anime. And also, he's
He did
actually
rap in
waving
something.
a newspaper from 1953 around.
I don't see it, but I can imagine what it would look like. I would
Damn
also like
kids.
to point out that we came close to having rap in anime with Steven Universe. I know it's not
True.
quite anime, but it's close, and Garnet did her little rap
I mean,
in
it
there.
is in
It's
the ballpark.
right there. It's
Yeah.
right there. And he didn't mind it, so you might be off. You might not know as well as you
I
think.
said I like rap, just not bad rap.
Yeah.
What about with Santas? Do you like bad Santas?
No, I
Or
like
just
Santa rap.
Regular Santas.
All Santas. As long as the Santa Claus starring Tim Allen.
Do you think Santa ever raps about wrapping gifts?
He should. Double
I don't know that he
RAP.
wraps his own gifts. That's what he's got his little minions for.
Elves.
His-
They're actual minions now. They replaced the elves with minions.
Santa
He
doesn't
bought
do
them
any of
from
that shit.
Gru.
I guess technically he does all the sleigh driving.
Santa's
so.
a lazy piece of shit.
Well,
I'm sorry.
He's out all night giving you presents. So
Well, he's coming back around for SummerSlam this year, actually.
a couple more characters rounds out the whole cast, the whole new cast. We've got Devontae Young, and that's Dexter Darden. He's one of the more likable characters, I think. He's
If
very
your name is
enjoyable.
Dexter, you better be as big as this guy.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be mean to you.
But actually, and I know you didn't see it in this episode, Van, but you see.
Did you watch the whole show?
Yeah, definitely.
I did too.
Okay.
Yeah, we did like months
Spencer and I had already seen this entire season.
Wow.
coming to this.
Okay.
So Devontae's actually, as you can see in this episode, he's much kinder than his appearance lends. And he's a sensitive soul. He sings like Mario Lopez wants him to play football and he won't. Instead, he goes out for some singing tryout and gets a part in a play or something. So he's not who he looks like on the surface. And that's the whole thing about Devontae. And he's a very likable guy. And then the principal in this one is Ronald Todman, played by John Michael Higgins. And that's the new Principal Belding.
And I like John Michael Higgins.
He's
I always
great.
have.
The actor is good. The character is
Pretty
another
terrible.
shitbag.
Yeah.
The principals
Really,
are
there's
terrible in these
again some
shows.
awesome, and that's kind of a theme here, but they did pretty well in the original. You could say this too at casting some people who have enough comedic timing to pull off some of the stuff
Sure.
written for them, and Higgins is one of the actors able to do that.
He does a great job at his part. His actual character is an awful person, just like Belding. And I made a note about that. We've got some questionable educators in these episodes. Now that we have presented the difference in the reboot, essentially the characters, and you know the premise of this first episode, let's get started on it. We enter the Bayside Hall, which looks familiar. We've got the same red lockers, and the principal's weird again. And then we've got Mario Lopez, who I do think has had extensive plastic surgery to look like he does. He looks good.
It's a tightly pulled face.
He looks good. He looks younger than he is.
He's still working out a lot,
Definitely. He's in great shape.
but he's not going for bulk as much
no,
now.
he's just lean.
He's
Yeah.
aged. He's got to stay lean and mobile
For his
Easy on
job
those
at
joints.
E or whatever.
Yeah,
Access Hollywood. That's it.
Does he still do that?
I don't know.
He did that for a
don't either.
while. Yeah. I don't know what he
his
does.
star was kind of rising for a while as sort of like a host type, like a Ryan Seacrest type.
Yeah. Yeah, he's had something of a career, I
Yeah.
guess, in some sense. there's an awkward running joke here about Todman having moved into the school. Like it's just a side. It's mentioned a few times. It's not that important. But
Was that just for this episode? Or was it?
Yes.
I believe so.
His wife kicks him out for a Bowflex. He mentions.
So he has to live at the school, and they make little cracks about it throughout the episode.
That Bowflex treats her well, though.
A lot better than Todman, apparently. So he's setting up he's setting up the ice cream social that the school's about to have. This is a big deal. Everyone's really excited about an ice cream social, which I don't think would be a thing at a high school.
It's because of that newspaper from 1953 I mentioned earlier that Van's waving around. Their school dances are taken from that newspaper.
Is
At
that
the malt shop.
Is that the Charlotte Gazette edition where it talks about Chicago, meaning, well, get the elephant out of the room, whatever it was. You'll have to tune into the Patreon bonus episode for that context, guys. Sorry. But you shouldn't be. Just, head over to patreon.com/Bootu Inc. Give us as little as $2 a month, and you can listen to that episode.
Then you don't have to be sorry.
It was interesting. We learned about words and expressions. So now there's another Bayside Hall. I don't know exactly the difference in the halls, but I referred to them as the Bayside immigrants since they are the imports from Douglas. They're talking about fitting in at Bayside. This is Daisy and Aisha. There's very clear commentary here of they're outsiders and the students at Bayside are privileged and spoiled and don't really get, what the struggles of real people's lives are. And they do underscore that very heavily throughout this entire reboot. They make that a big
point. It is. That's one of my favorite things about the reboot is like the class struggle is a central element of the plot somehow.
The only qualm I would have, and I've only watched one episode, it might be better, but it seems like they just made every Douglas student not white. And that's all it is. That's the only difference. There's not a poor white person. It's all the white people are rich. The people from Douglas,
exactly
they're not white.
True.
Well, I won't get into the whole politics of it, but essentially when people are like, why are we giving remuneration to different groups? Well, this is why, because we fucked them over a long time ago and that persists.
What do you mean gentrification? This house is nicer than the last one.
But, and I want to clarify, I wasn't like mad that white people are considered poor.
Exactly
I'm thinking the opposite.
That it's kind of lazy to make every student brown that's going to be transferring from Douglas. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I kind of get where you're coming from because it does also pit the students against one another. Like when you're watching the show of like, I'm supposed to know that all the brown people are good and all the white people are bad in terms of this particular conflict.
Sure.
And that does kind of create a sense of division. So I kind of do understand where you're coming from there.
But other than that, I also agree with your points of the class conflict being central to it is important. And that's a good topic to cover.
Yeah, it's, I guess, like, and we're going to get into this more, I'm assuming, at the end when we talk about the differences between the series. I felt like this series was trying a lot more with the inclusiveness of the cast, with kind of trying to tackle issues and coming at them with something of a modern understanding. Like no one in this series is, in fact, they make fun of this, is smoking a joint and thinking they're going to start murdering people afterwards, that sort of thing.
I'll give you an example. I'm jumping a little bit ahead because it happens a little bit ahead in the episode. But at some point when, and I forget their names, Max and Mac, and then the other kid that are fighting,
Jamie.
Yeah.
Jesse's son.
Jamie says something along the lines of, Mac once convinced me that he was in love with me because I was trying to get a thing. And they didn't do the, ew, gay.
Another one
they
of
just played it off.
The things that I really like about this series is that's taken for granted in a good way. Like,
exactly.
It's not notable.
No one questions it.
It's not a punchline that someone in the series is gay.
No, it's just funny that Jamie is so goofy about the whole thing when he's telling the story, and he's so stupid and he's so lovable that it's just him. His personality is what makes that funny, not that it's about him falling in love with Mac or whatever.
It's really nice though to watch like a populist TV show that a lot of people are going to watch that does not go for a low-hanging gay joke or something like that, because I feel like one of the problems with like a CBS sitcom or something like that is because you're trying to appeal to the most people possible, you're going to take the laziest jokes.
It's going to be tropes.
Yeah.
And
simply
stereotypes.
Pointing your finger at someone for being different than you has been a joke in sitcoms since sitcoms started.
They tackle some of these serious subjects, but because they're coming at it from such a self-aware perspective, they actually do it in a lighthearted fashion. So it doesn't seem like they're beating you over the head with anything. It's actually kind of silly, and you do laugh at it, but for the right reasons. So I like that they didn't shy away from talking about the class struggle, making comments about sexuality or whatever, and they're not afraid of like rubbing anyone the wrong way, because it's just it's handled very skillfully in the sense that it's funny and it doesn't take over the whole show, it has its part, and it's very well done. It's kind of deftly maneuvered. So they did some things pretty well with that. This scene is the whole setup to the cold open that we saw. There, Daisy and Aisha are talking about how they don't fit at Bayside. Aisha seems to be trying a little harder than Daisy. And
Daisy's kind of giving her Aisha some shit.
Yeah, she thinks she's a sellout or whatever. You know, you don't belong here. Stop trying to fit in. Something like that. And that's, of course, when Matt comes in and talks about the hot girlies. Matt Jamie does the same thing. So now we've got the entire premise of the episode set up, and it's time to go to an assembly where we see the boys' dream girl. They still don't know. They have no idea it's the same person. They won't for a while. The assembly has been called by Principal Todman, who, with Jesse, is announcing that there is a entire package of iPads that have been stolen out of the office. And the ice cream social is canceled until they figure out what happened with that. So Todman's got an idea. It's called the Snitches Get Riches program. He's got a big cardboard box, and he puts it out in the hallway and says, if you know anything about this, just tell on the person, and you could win a TV. Just slip it in here, and you might get a Vizio TV. Jesse's horrified. She says, you're supposed to run all this stuff by me. He doesn't care. He's clearly doing his own thing here, and he has encouraged the students to tell I'm this thief, this presumed iPad thief.
I mentioned earlier about the actor who plays Todman, Higgins, having some good line reads. One of his here is very quickly and casually referring to his office as my room during this, which I really liked, since we know he's staying there right now, but no one else is supposed to know that.
Yeah, there's a couple more. I didn't write any of them down. There's a couple more times that he slips in later in like a line that's clearly he's living there that comes up.
Now, what relationship does Jessie have to this guy? Is she just working here? Yeah, dating?
She's like an administrator at the school.
She's kind of like his assistant, so to speak, I think.
It seems like it.
He makes a joke about her filling out a poncho later, and I was like, well, are they together? It kind of gave me pause.
I think he's talking about his wife. Like in that scene.
Okay.
I will say also, we get some... Now, Jessie is married in this reboot.
But it's not to
a rich traveling asshole guy.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a good fit.
There is some teasing... And this is also a plot line I was like, there's some teasing of Slater potentially breaking up that marriage.
Getting back in there with Jesse.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's moved on, met someone completely outside the original show, and fathered Jamie in the process.
Okay. Well, I wondered because Jamie was vaguely Slater-like, so I didn't know if he was the dad or not. No. Is that the joke that they make?
I don't think so. That would be a hell of a reveal.
I don't think that's the joke, but it is. I didn't even think about that because he is also kind of like the
he's the Slater of this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'd be a really interesting soap opera line right there. If they end up making it to where Slater's the father all along, but it's supposed to be someone else, and he's not a good guy. So maybe Slater in his redeemed years here will swoop Jesse off her tall feet and they'll get back together. So speaking of Slater, we're going to the gym where you learn Slater's, in this episode, you learn Slater's a coach now. You already know this if you watched all of them like I did. But he's a coach. He's in gym. He's trying to get students to throw a dodgeball at Devontae, who's very large and looks very scary. He looks menacing. So the kids don't want to throw a dodgeball at him. I mean, Devontae's a really nice guy. He'd probably just giggle if the dodgeball hit him. He wouldn't care. But the kids won't do it. The girls are sitting in the stands talking in the bleachers, I guess is what you could call those more accurately. The girls are talking about who stole the iPads. Here's where the Douglas class conflict comes into play. They figure, these rich Bayside kids, because Aisha's within earshot, they figure she knows or she stole them. It's something, she's a person of color, or she knows somebody who did it because she's one of them. She's one of the Douglas kids. And they intentionally overspeak to where they know she's going to hear. I wish somebody who knew, or maybe their friend did it, would just tell us. And so Aisha says, "What, you think I know?" And of course no, I would never say that. But yeah, you get the sense all the Bayside kids, they're pissed off their ice cream socials canceled, and they want the Douglas kid who stole it to give it back so they can have their fucking ice cream.
And meanwhile, everyone in gym class is wearing school-issued gym uniforms, which I guess still exist in our modern times, which really brought me back to having to, in middle school, wear my Carver middle school t-shirt.
I forgot about that, because in high school, you didn't have to.
No. But in middle school, I definitely did.
You had to wear, where I went to school, it was like maroon shorts. They were mesh and super short.
Yeah, we had navy blue shorts and a shirt that said Carver Middle School with a little puma on it.
Nice.
Which I wish I still had. And I mean, I don't know what I would do with it.
You wouldn't fit in it.
Yeah,
I'm not judging. I wouldn't fit in anything.
No, I mean, that'd be weird to fit into a middle school shirt.
Yeah, it would actually.
I haven't grown an inch.
What I do like here about the gym segment is that we see Slater's the gym coach.
Yes.
And I like that, and this isn't necessarily to disparage gym coaches out there.
Oh,
but it's like
some of them are also history teachers who don't know anything about history.
Or anything at all.
So I like that, I don't know, it's almost sad. And there are a couple of moments in this episode where you're like, Slater's pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
So I like that happens.
I like that
Slater
kind of, he reaps what he sows, but also throughout
maybe
this
got
season.
his own medicine.
Yeah, we're doing some sweet idioms here.
Gotta fit that in.
Good work, everybody. But I like that he's also like trying to be a better person in this series.
But not always succeeding.
But his life didn't work out.
Nope.
Exactly how he had wanted it to.
That is funny though that they do say like that's what happens to the high school jock as he becomes a gym teacher.
Yeah.
That was
However, he's the most in shape gym teacher I've ever seen.
Yeah, and most gym teachers are just fat old men like that. Again,
with mustaches.
They make them teach history or math or something, but they don't know that or even what they coach half the time. They're just kind of like the throwback good old boys that don't know anything and think men should be men. And
gonna have a beer after work and leer at the high school girls.
I think I hated like every single PE coach.
Oh, yeah,
They're awful people.
Mr. Quigley. Fuck you, Mr. Quigley.
Go back down under.
That was a pretty funny joke. It kind of upset me, but you know what? Water under the bridge. Let's move on.
So now we go to the bus since you wanted to move on.
Fine, your idioms are good. Mine's bad. I see how it is.
I mean, that's a good idiom. I think that was B+. Now, we're on the bus. The girls are talking about Devontae having a shady past because he did some shit at Douglas, apparently. And
stole something real cool.
Yeah, this is another one of my favorite little tidbits.
Daisy and Aisha they lead up to this whole conversation as I can't believe that they think we did it or know someone who did it, but it was totally Devontae. So here's how quickly they move from wanting to be outraged at this to slandering their schoolmate.
Yeah, because they're inconvenienced too.
People keep asking you if you know who stole all the iPads. Yeah. They obviously think a Douglas kid did it and we're covering it up.
How dare they all assume that we know who stole the iPads? I mean, it was Devontae, right? You know who stole.
Oh, yeah, he's 100% guilty.
So, yeah, not a lot of love for their fellow Douglas student there.
Well, to be honest, though, he did steal those Radio Shack infotainment squares.
He's had some of his moments in his past, apparently. Yeah, he's I give Devontae the benefit of the doubt at this point, but they think.
Well, we know more. We've seen his tender side.
No, I just don't. I always believed in Devontae. I'm sorry that you didn't, but yeah, we know that at this point nobody really believes that it's anyone other than him, including his own Douglas classmates. And it's just, they're not going to turn him in because he's one of theirs. So
fucking turncoats.
There was a little, wow. So this could tie into the 21 Jump Street episode. You don't betray your own.
Yeah.
Even if they stole an iPad or killed a gay person.
Beat several people to death.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you know this. I told you, Brian.
Yes.
That's happening right now in Springfield,
in the
Missouri.
city we live in.
Outside of Martha's Vineyard, which is a gay bar downtown.
Oh, yeah.
People are getting beaten up by roving gangs of teenagers.
Wow.
It's absurd. And so all the gays from there are starting to militarize, and I approve.
Is it really?
Like they have to walk together. They're being armed. Like it's a big deal. It's crazy.
I guess I don't read much local
There's
news.
an article in the New Yorker today about Springfield's poor vaccination rate.
I saw that. I didn't read it because again, it would make me mad. So I'm not going to.
I did read it, and it did make me mad.
Yeah, I don't want to hear their logic behind it, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, you see, I'm already mad. Let's not get mad. Let's get.
He just hit Brian.
You missed it. You missed it. I said, let's not get mad. Let's get Max. We're going to the Max.
Oh, damn it. Another amazing segue.
It wasn't that good.
It was
anyway,
pretty good.
In the Max, Mac and Jamie, they still don't realize that the girl they like, Pamela, is the same person. And Daisy just gets fed up with it. She says, look, guys, it's the same person, which they still don't think. They're like,
and
no.
Lexi had warned Daisy not to do this.
Lexi has her own reasons here. She's like, let this thing play out. But yeah, she's kind of hovering behind them, listening to the whole thing. But Daisy just loses it and says, look, this is the same person, you idiots. After they talk through a couple different things of why it's not the same person, they figure out by pantomiming the shape of her that it is the same person, and they're distraught. because now they realize they're at odds over Pamela. And that's a problem because they're really good friends. So they don't want a girl to come between them. However, she's gonna. That's not going to be where they're like, well, let's put this aside and our friendship's more important. That's not how this works, or else the episode would be probably over pretty much after Devontae turned back in his 30 iPads. That could have been a very short episode there. So then
like
we
a
learn,
Steven Universe length episode.
Yeah, why not? There's a party on Friday night at Stepmom's Malibu Beach House. Is the only note I have. I don't get it. Like,
I think it
you
was
have a
just
stepmom.
It was. I think that's the joke. Is like the girl walks up and it's just some.
It's like not.
It's a
like
rich
your dad's
girl
rich.
who's and it's like, I don't know, my stepmom's.
I didn't get it. I want to know how it could be a stepmom. I want to get into the family connections there that make that happen. But there's a party at a Malibu Beach House, and
Leonard Nimoy's there.
Oh yeah, he's definitely there, and Columbo. So
every high school student's favorite party, Columbo. So let me ask you this: you were in math today, right? Help me figure this out.
I love Columbo so much.
The girls are smitten by him.
He's got a cigar.
He's on like the Tiger Beat magazine cover.
So this is where Mac and Jamie.
I keep burping up eggs all morning. I love it when Columbo burps eggs. It's so hot.
He just dropped a cigar in the punch bowl. So Mac and Jamie throw down here. Mac says,
I tell you what, he would solve who stole those fucking iPads instantly.
Immediately. I'm pretty sure I know exactly where those are the whole time.
Especially since he would definitely unearth that Podman's living in the school. He would get to the bottom of all this immediately.
Yeah, I noticed your wife kicked you out of the house, and I see the box of iPads right there.
Let's not spoil any plot lines here. So, again, Max says, you know what? I am taking Pamela to that party. Jamie says, no, you're not. So they're at a standoff. Yeah, there's a part here I have to mention on top of their arrangement that they make here, which is we get a pop culture reference of today, except they do recognize that it's kind of old, where Lexi tells Jamie he's like cool and hot like Justin Bieber if he wasn't 100 years old. So this is like the updated Arsenio Hall, Kevin Costner thing.
Mm.
This is the 2020 thing now.
And also
Justin
kind of the
Bieber
joke that Justin Bieber's ancient at 25 or whatever.
Is definitely not still in like the public eye, so to speak.
And here's the problem I had with it. This kid, Jamie, looks 0% like Justin Bieber has ever looked at any point. So this felt flawed to me that it was shoehorned in.
Yeah, it was
like, people
weird.
Know who Justin Bieber is. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it was odd. It was a little odd. But so Mac, of course, is the one who has this idea. I don't know why Jamie would agree, but Jamie's pliable. He goes along with it. Mac has this plan of how are we going to figure out who wins Pamela's heart.
I'm taking Pamela to that party.
No, I'm taking Pamela to that party.
Hey, look, there's a perfectly reasonable way to settle this. A winner-take-all gentleman's prank war for a heart.
Yeah, prank war. That's going to be how we solve who gets Pamela here.
That's how most disputes are settled.
Yeah. I can tell you it's a pretty one-sided thing because poor Jamie just doesn't have that sort of deceit in his heart the way Mac does, as we learn. And Jamie admits that readily. This is that part where he talks about how good Mac is at pranks and how he pranked him into making him fall in love with him pretty recently. So that's a nice little throwaway line there.
But damn, he looked good in that car.
See, I still feel it. That's how he says it after that. I like Jamie. He's so dumb. He's lovable. Right after this is where we learn this party invitation that the stepmom location in the Malibu Beach House. This girl has sent out all the invites to everyone's email. The Douglas kids don't have this invite in their email. They're not invited to the party because this iPad theft business it's gotten under everyone's skin. And Douglas is even more ostracized at this point. Let's take a moment for a quick break. We'll come back and pick up right where we left off. So we learn they're cut off from this party, and that's where Aisha at this point is pissed because she wants to fit in. She wants to go to the stupid party, and she's ready to.
She loves ice cream.
She's ready to get to the bottom of it. She finds Devontae in the hallway. She confronts him. She says, "You do stuff like this. You took it. I know it was you, and I'm going to tell on you. I'm going to report you because it's a sense of duty. I have to do the right thing." And you need to give him back. And he says, no, I'm not giving him back. He plays along with it. He says, yeah, I did it. I'm not giving him back. There's nothing you can do. By the way, it's not your desire for justice that is actually compelling you to confront me right now. So
slinging truths.
Calls her out. Says,
Devontae knows.
He's basically saying, I'm not going to let anything you say bother me. And, you need to check yourself. You need to think about what your
Before you
motivations
wreck yourself.
actually are. So Aisha, really, she decides she's going to go this route. She marches over to that Snitches Get Riches box. She wants that Vizio TV. And I guess the party is probably her main motivation. So she turns
I'd
in.
rather have the TV.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Ice cream's not that expensive.
I would watch something on that new TV and not go to the party.
And you can still eat ice cream.
I don't know if I'd eat the ice cream.
I would.
That. So we see now that Aisha's fully betrayed Devontae without even knowing for sure it was him.
You betray me.
She's turned his name in, and Devontae is probably not long for this world. He's going to be
murdered by John Michael Higgins.
He suggests that he'll be going to prison and who will take care of his grandma. He's the only one who cares for her at this point. So and we don't know if he means that or if he's just making her feel bad, but that's thrown out there. And Devontae could presumably be getting in a lot of trouble very soon. But first we have to go back to this prank war, which is very silly. Very silly. We're in the classroom. Jamie is attempting to do this. It's kind of funny. He's attempting to win the prank war. He strikes first by putting, I don't even know what it is. He puts something in Mac's shirt and says, dude, you smell
dog
like hella. Is it though?
Mm-hmm.
You smell like hella dog poop is his line, which I admittedly thought was kind of funny. Mac is ready for this somehow. I don't know how he would have thought that this was going to happen, but he's got a puppy.
Happens to him all the time.
He's got a puppy in his backpack. And he says, I should hope so. I've been volunteering at a local shelter, and gives the puppy to Pamela.
Which is not much different than the sort of line Brett tries to pull off in our OG Saved by the Bell episode.
If only Brett would have had a puppy with him, it would have been the same thing exactly. Or maybe maybe brought his depressed friend who's recently his parents just got divorced, just brings him.
And they have to make it really obvious, so the friend's holding a big bottle of Xanax and Wellbutrin.
That sounds great.
I know it does.
Now look, if someone's courting me and they come up and give me a fucking dog, I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to keep that dog. I'm going to love that dog forever and give it the best life.
I can't afford it, and it's going to eat my
That's a
chair.
Commitment.
Yeah.
Come on. Don't throw that on someone. That's evil.
And Daisy, actually, this is another pretty good self-aware line where Daisy's like, you're supposed to just hold that dog through the
I
whole
did like
class.
that.
Yeah, Daisy's the voice of reason. That's continually what her role is in the show.
I also wanted to point out real quick, the teacher in this scene is a teacher from the original series.
The old man who's swiping on Tinder, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the new teacher joke in this one, that we don't have the furrowed eyebrow guy.
We have the monotone teacher
who can't find a Tinder date.
Yeah, and when this guy was younger, the actor who plays this teacher, I thought he bore a striking resemblance to this ESPN reporter named John Clayton.
He really did. Now that you mention that,
I can see that. Now that, I wouldn't have thought of that, but wasn't he like fantasy football or something?
I think so. I remember him being on SportsCenter a lot in the 90s.
With that long hair that he would tie up in the back.
I wonder if John Clayton has any trouble on Tinder too. Apparently, that's just the thing.
I don't know. I hope he's okay.
So, I did make a note about that, by the way. I thought I totally skipped it like I wanted to. But yeah, there's another teacher gag here. He gives a quiz, bitches about Tinder. And then a guy with flowers bursts into the room. Mac's pranks continue. And Mac wrote a poem. Pamela's getting flowers in the poem. And Jamie's getting beaten pretty badly at this point. So he wants to switch seats with Daisy, who's closer to Pamela. They orchestrate this. Well, Jamie gets closer to Pamela. Mac has he has a remote control of the desk. So he sends the desk flying into the filing cabinet.
Impressive engineering.
Yeah, no, Mac's apparently quite a genius at all this stuff. So yeah, teacher doesn't care. He's too busy on Tinder. But Jamie's hitting the filing cabinets, and Pamela just continues to be wooed by Mac, apparently. This does come to an end very quickly, though, because out in the hallway, when Jamie and Mac are going at it after all these pranks and fighting with each other. So Daisy confronts Pamela. Do you like either one of them? It's kind of a non-committal answer. We're divided on what we think Pamela did, but the point is we're kind of learning here that this situation isn't going to go very far for either one of these two with Pamela. She never speaks. She apparently doesn't really have a whole lot going on for her in her head. So there's not much to do with this plot thread at this point. They kind of realize it's a lost cause, but are still mad at each other over the whole thing. So now we go back to the bus where, again, Daisy and Aisha are doing their little conversation. Apparently on the way home, they always have these big talks. They talk in Spanish. They get angry at each other. There are some subtitles. And Daisy is a little upset at Aisha for turning in Devante, is kind of the gist of the scene. She's saying he is still one of us, even if he did that and you shouldn't have turned him in. You should really have thought about that. So we have she's got a little bit of a mental thing to work through and decide, what did she do? What's the actual context behind it? Did she do more wrong than good?
She says one of my favorite lines in the whole episode here. They're talking about a different teacher from, Jefferson?
From Douglas. Yeah.
Jefferson Douglas, of course, nailed it. At where she refers to that teacher as a birdhouse sweatshirt wearing ass bitch.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty great.
That is pretty awesome.
Some of the things they say to each other it is pretty funny, actually. So now we cut back to the bathroom where Lexi's in it crying in the toilet and berating herself for crying in the bathroom. And here's where we learn.
And Sleater standing on a toilet.
That would be a lot creepier in this case than it was in the first episode.
In the girls' bathroom.
It's amazing the things you can learn standing on a toilet in the girls' bathroom when you're 50.
Heavy breathing.
Well, here's where we learn that Lexi likes Jamie, and she had a whole plan waiting for this Pamela situation to die out so he would have his heart broken and she could swoop in and console him. And she had this big thing going on that no one really knows about. She meets Daisy in the bathroom, who's just trying to take a piss, and Lexi's in there crying and confronts her angrily. So it goes something like this.
I could have swooped in and revealed my feelings at the romantic ice cream social when Jamie was at his most vulnerable.
I'm sorry, I really want to hear this, but I do have to pee. Hold it, please.
When you interfered and made Pamela choose prematurely, it completely screwed up my lexicon. Lexicons are what I call my schemes.
Wouldn't it be easier if you just ask him out?
You're so judgmental.
I like that. I like the whole dialogue. It's only like half of it. Lexi goes on and on and on in the bathroom about how much Daisy ruined everything.
I like lexicon. I was up to this point. It made sense, of course, once this happened. But prior to it, I just remember the whole time thinking, why is this girl so freaking upset about stopping the nonsense that was between these two guys, to the point where I was jarred a little bit. It was like, these two are being idiots. Who cares? Let Daisy fix this problem and move on.
I remember
so I get
wondering
it now.
that the first time I saw this episode also, of like, what's the angle here?
It's like, just ease
No
up.
one would act that way. But then, of course, it makes sense under that context. I also would like to tell you guys about brimes, which are Brian crimes, which are different than lexicons.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea that you were inspired by that.
Yes.
It is. I could not help but laugh at the lexicon part and how she explains it to her while she's yelling at her in the bathroom. Like, that's what I call my schemes. It's pretty great. And it's also super fucked up in a lovable way that Lexi is actually thinking through something this many levels in. Like,
3D chess, man.
She's saying, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, then I'm going to do this. I mean, Lexi is fucked up and it's kind of
control
funny.
freak.
I love it. It's a very charming portrait of a character. I like how far ahead she's thinking and how fucked up she is. I can't help it. So we've learned a lot about this situation here, and there's about to be a little more that goes on in that plot. We have to return to the snitches get riches situation because Aisha is a little bit doubting that she should have turned Devante in. She breaks into the box and she's reading the other notes that people left in there. We get some kind of funny gags. And I'm presuming that she wants to remove the Devante one from that. While she's doing this, rooting around in it, she gets spotted, though, by white privileged Bayside students. And they're thinking, why would you break into that box unless you stole the iPad? So now Aisha's the one who everyone is assuming is the thief of the iPad. With this new bad rap, Aisha meets Daisy in the library. Pretty much just says, hey, you're right. The school sucks. Everyone thinks I'm a thief now. They're judging me. We don't fit in here. You were right all along. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Yeah, this is not a good school. And I'm sorry. I was trying to fit in. I lost my way, sort of thing.
You got to be yourself and have other people love you for that.
And that's why when there were 2 pairs of footprints in the sand,
Jesus was there.
The conclusion of this thread here is that the principal's office, it's Principal Todman and Jesse in the office waiting for Aisha, but they're nice. They say, we don't think you actually did this, but we think you might have insight into it. So during this whole ordeal, Todman kicks a box under his desk, looks in the ground, realizes, you know what? The iPads have been here all along. They just got hidden behind another box.
Excuse me, sir. Is that box beneath your desk? Is that full of iPads? Because I
noticed
think
it's labeled iPads.
So that quickly puts a stop to that. And Todman does his usual kind of thing. He tries to worm out of it. Doesn't even want to admit that there was no thief, but Jesse makes him. Jesse's keeping him under control, says, you got to tell the school the ice cream socials back on. The iPads were there. It was a mistake. It was a misunderstanding. So there's that. That'll exonerate all the Douglas kids. Aisha will still have to figure out how to make it up to Devontae for kind of throwing him under the bus, but that's for later. Now it's time to get to that party, which is the long-awaited stepmom Malibu party. Mac and Jamie are continuing to go at it. They have not made up yet. They're still mad.
Isn't this? Wait, I thought this was the ice cream.
Actually, it is. It is because doesn't
because they
it's ice cream in the pants.
Yeah, he throws the ice cream on his dick, and Jamie says, "That's okay. My penis was hot."
Yeah, I laughed actually like both times I heard that line.
Yeah,
he reads it really quickly, which helps.
You are right. I just I wasn't terribly concerned with what party was what in my notes.
It's very important information.
I was just like, yeah, they're at a party and they're yelling. I don't know. So Slater breaks it up. Slater's got to play peacemaker in this scene. This is where we get a chance to see how far he's come as a person since these earlier episodes that we covered last week.
Is this the first time he's really had the spotlight on him in the series?
A little bit. Like, mostly we just see his struggles as a coach, like trying to get Devontae to play football and,
And sometimes his friendship with Jesse.
Yeah, and that he probably still likes her sort of things. But no, we don't know a whole lot about him. This is just the third episode, so.
I guarantee he's also...
fucking office as a gym coach.
As a gym coach in a high school.
Yeah.
There is the idea, by the way, that he's trying to get Devontae to play football because I guarantee the character is set up for this to be like, there's nothing more important in life than high school football.
Yeah.
Like you just know that's
an alarming
Slater's
amount
mindset.
of people believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's huge. And
Doug Heffernan, for one.
Yes.
Well, he made that big block. You gotta give him credit for that.
He did.
So Slater breaks it up, brings him to his office, which you guys mentioned is really nice. He plays psychologist with them. The kids are food stained from their little battle with ice cream and everything else they threw at each other. Slater has a really good point, and he says, "You know what, guys? This isn't about a girl. This is about yourself. Your toxic masculinity is what you're bringing here. Your friendship is more important than any girl." And then he says, "You know what? I was the same way, though." And here's where I'm thinking we get wise Slater. We get some kind of concept of he's going to steer them right and give them good life advice. But instead, he says this.
Look, when I was in high school, I constantly used to fight with my best friend over a hot girl. I was actually your dad. Over your mom. Anyway, look, then I just found another girl that I really liked, and I started hooking up with her instead. Wait, that was your mom?
So Slater hasn't lost his touch.
Still a creep.
And he wants both of the boys to know that he tried to or did fuck their moms. And essentially, the way to fix the problem is to be friends and go fuck someone else. I started hooking up with a different girl. Everything was fine.
Yeah, friends forever, friends for eternity.
So Mac points out, I don't know that it did work out. Like, my dad and you don't really talk. You're not really friends anymore. And also, they got married.
Kelly, yeah.
They got married, and I was the result of that.
In Las Vegas, no less.
So
did Wayne Newton preside over the wedding?
Man, I'm sure he was alarmingly close by.
Oh, Katie told me, by the way, that the reason he got the place in Branson is because he did lose all of his money in Vegas.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's probably from paying so many ransoms.
So Slater's accidentally led the boys to a revelation that he didn't mean to. What he was trying to do failed miserably, but it works because Jamie says, "You know what? You're right. The girl that I fall in love with could be my future wife. Pamela's not that. I don't want our friendship to end over that." They realize they don't care about Pamela. They just were smitten by her. So they're good. They're ready to be friends again. And as Max says, until the next girl that we're both attracted to comes along. Back to the party, Lexi confronts Daisy about her confession about Jamie because Lexi's scared. It's like, I admitted that to you about Jamie. I've not told anyone else. I was vulnerable. I told you something. What are you going to do about it? Because Lexi would. Lexi's very manipulative. She grows over the course of the show, but she's very manipulative. She would definitely use information like that to get something she wants. Lexi, to me, is a very fascinating character. She made me laugh pretty hard in this scene where she says, "What are you going to do with that information?" And Daisy says, "What? You mean to think?" Daisy's forgotten all about it. She's just serving ice cream or something at the party or at the ice cream social. And she says, "What? You mean to think about Jamie?" And Lexi's like, shh, grabs her by the arm and says, "What are you going to do, you sick bitch?" Just like acts like it's a given that she's going to do something horrible with this news. And Daisy's like, "No, I don't have any intention of telling anybody." And Lexi believes her, and they come to an agreement there. Also, I wrote down there's a Simon Cowell reference because that's apparently one of Lexi's neighbors. And she talks about how if she tries to tell Jamie how she really feels, he might not be her friend anymore, and they're neighbors. And she's like, well, who am I going to wave goodbye? Who am I going to wave goodnight to every night? It can't be my other neighbor. That's Simon Cowell. So we have another pop culture.
Apparently he's still relevant.
Simon Cowell, Justin Bieber.
He's on that. What's the new show? Like,
I don't
America's got cool skills.
So he's just doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. It's a whole new show, but it's the same thing from American Idol. And he was still the host.
And he already had like the one before American Idol too, right? Like Britain Idol or something. It started in England.
Assholes Idol.
He wouldn't stop.
It's part of everyone's fascination with watching someone debase someone trying to live their dream. I don't know.
More like Simon Scowl, am I right?
Whoa, yeah.
That's a really good point though, is that he's the main draw, him being an asshole to people.
It's a really weird fetish that
Gordon Ramsay,
TV watchers
similar
have.
deal for
Yes,
me. I can't stand Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay's softened, I hear. I hear he's a much nicer guy now.
Good for him.
Like physically softened or
probably.
Emotionally?
He's made of goo now.
He is getting older, so probably so. The end of the episode is approaching here, where Aisha's she's gotta find her inner peace the way the other characters have. Mac and Jamie are fine now. Lexi and Daisy are fine. Aisha is ready to apologize. And she says, look, I think you're right. I didn't do this for the right reasons. And I understand that, I shouldn't have done it. I've learned my lesson. He says, that's okay. Just don't come to my house again. It's a little joke that they have. And then she says, hey, is that stuff at your grandma real? Do you really have to take care of it? And he said, no, I just said that to make you feel bad. So he's trying to let her off the hook. The episode ends with his grandma screaming at him to do exactly the things that he joked he had, or not joking, but that he said he had to do for her to make her feel bad a couple of scenes ago.
She threw her teeth at Judge Judy.
Who's going to pick my grandma's teeth up and give her insulin? So she says that exact thing. Devontae, get in here and pick up my teeth and give me my insulin. I thought that was a good callback. There's redemption for all in this episode. Everyone kind of has an arc that they follow. And I mean, I don't really think Mac is redeemed so much, but ever.
Well, he's a blank shell of a human at this point, just a blonde shit shell.
He does get a little redemption later in this.
I think everyone does
in this season because his dad is such a piece of shit.
So is he still?
Yes.
Okay.
So Zach shows up and just is a total worthless tool, and then because of that, Mac kind of starts to realize like a lot of the reasons I act the way I act are because of my dad, and I'm not actually very close to him.
Gotcha.
That's touched on quite a bit later, but I think every character does end up kind of growing throughout the season. By the end, Lexi's way less manipulative too. So that's just a little bit of foreshadowing for you, Van, for when you watch the rest of them.
Someone's going to have to regress for season 2.
I mean, they're clearing it all up in this season, apparently.
One curious thing is, at the end of this season, they knew they were running into production problems, so COVID is mentioned.
Oh, really?
In the show.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's actually the way it ends, which, by the way...
The season 1 ends, essentially with them being like, there's something going around called coronavirus.
And Mac reads it on his phone and is dismissive like we all were. Like, he picks it up and he's like, what's coronavirus? Anyway, he swipes it away, and then he keeps talking. But I had a thought. I was thinking about this earlier.
It sounds like you've had a lot, because like
2 or 3 at least.
Yeah, like a lot this.
No, mostly this one. This is a big one here.
Focused a lot on this.
I'm going to make this a thing. We've got the cold opens. We started this episode with one. The way that it ends on just the coronavirus mention, and then that's it, and the whole show is over, the whole season's over. Can we call that like a hot close or something?
I want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or even like a warm close. I don't know.
No, hot. It needs to be a hot close.
We got the cold open and the hot close. Why don't they have any names for the closing? I think we need to work on that. Start putting that out there. Hashtag hot close.
Hashtag hot close.
I think that'll get misunderstood a little bit, probably.
Well, listener, if you're out there and you can think of other shows that have given, hot close, let us know so we can watch and talk about it.
Yeah, I'm going to Google hot close.
We could do an entire show about
hot closes.
Top 10 hot closes in television history. Actually, that would be fun to do even with cold opens.
It would be,
that. We could definitely do a theme of that.
That's a Patreon topic if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah, that's something that we'll have to revisit. So I've gotten that off my chest. I'm glad I did because it's been bothering me all day. So we are at the end of this episode. We've covered enough of both versions of the show now to kind of have an idea of what they were both like, or maybe much more in your case, and to an extent mine too, because I watched a lot of the original show and I have seen all of this new one, to be fair. Having the knowledge we have now, let's talk a little bit about the two and how you feel about them versus each other.
Original run of Saved by the Bell, I feel, had its niche, and it certainly was groundbreaking in several ways in the type of show that it was. It decided what it wanted to be, it did it. This show...
Eventually, after kind of changing after 2 years.
Well, yeah, that's true. My notes here say, who the fuck was this for? The reboot.
The reboot? Yeah, I don't know.
Because it's not for kids. There's cursing, there's adult topics. But
it's for teens, right?
But I think
it's for teens.
I don't know. I think it's for the original Saved by the Bell audience.
The original Saved by the Bell audience was like, you could have a point there. Originally, when they made that one, it was for 10 to 12-year-olds or whatever. So they're thinking they've grown up and now they still want to watch the show. Well, right. For me.
But they also still made a lot of the Saved by the Bell tropes and stuff. And the intro thing was hot dogs flying at you. And it was just, I just felt like it didn't pick a lane and stay to it to me. Yeah. And I didn't, this one I thought was far worse than the first one. And that's my type of entertainment media that I like to consume. I can make fun of the first one left and right. I liked a lot of the things the reboot did, but it just didn't do anything for me. It was still real tropey. It was still, again, the class conflict, all the problems I said earlier, just kind of things like that. I just did not like this. I don't know who it's for. I don't know why anyone watched it. I don't know why it's gotten a second season. It's just not for me.
That's fair.
Told me what it would be, in my opinion. That's just how I felt about it.
And it could just be another one of those shows that are geared toward more like young adults. Like, for instance, that remake of what's that movie about the talking cat and the witch?
Hocus Pocus.
Sabrina?
Yeah. Perhaps
at first
like in the vein
I was perplexed.
Have you seen that Sabrina show?
I've seen it, not by choice.
Isn't it like good?
It's fun. It's all right.
People like
it's
it.
Violent.
People like it anyway.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like a more adult version of, just like they did with Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And, which by the way, Perplexed is interesting because it's not like they've done any other show that could possibly fit that description. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things.
Well, it just sounds like a premise that couldn't be real. Like when you just say it on its face.
A witch and a talking cat.
Yes.
That sounds pretty believable to me. I mean, I don't, that's not that far.
Also, Hocus Pocus was right, by the way, if that's your criteria. There were witches and there was a talking cat.
Yeah.
What about The Craft?
I figure talking cats are pretty common for witch stories. Another one I can think of an example like that is that Riverside show that did the Archie comics, the updated. Like
and you've both watched that, I think.
I watched like a season of it.
It's horrible,
it's
right?
Not good.
It's bad.
It's not good. I was intrigued at first, and then it very quickly went in teenage soap opera territory.
Oh, with Jughead, like with his stupid beanie cap being like, I don't live at home
I'm
because
out
I'm
of
edgy.
cheeseburgers.
Yeah, it's just, that show grossed me out.
I feel like it's not an exact comparison, but
I get what you're saying.
I feel like it's something like that. Like they're taking stuff that people knew as kids and making it adult and darker or whatever. Or in this case, more tackling serious issues and laughing about it in a lighthearted way in the Saved by the Bell reboot, but something like that in those lines.
So I have a different opinion.
Get out
from Van on this one, which is
Is that why you didn't want to go first? Like, because you kind of looked.
No,
startled.
I actually was gonna go first, and then I hesitated and was like, maybe Van wants to go first, and we both just kind of sat here.
It took too long.
As a host, I didn't like it. You made me look bad.
Yeah, thank goodness for Van's miraculous editing.
Magic of editing, right there. It sounds
great.
I
think we should leave it in.
So
it would be au natural.
40 seconds of pause.
So I had watched the reboot as Spencer had going into this. But I had a really good time watching the original series episode because of the nostalgia factor and how goofy and out of place a lot of it is, and how a lot of it seems like almost caveman-esque, and how you just wouldn't do it in a television series anymore. The newer one, though, I feel like is a better made thing.
And the first time I saw the intro scene or whatever, the camera was a good camera.
Yeah.
It was a clear picture, and I thought, okay, this had production value.
Yeah, and like a lot more effort behind the writing, behind the ideas. Whoever it's for, it was made to be this. It wasn't shifted to be something else because it wasn't selling well enough. That sort of thing. So it's kind of like, whatever the case, the people who made this show have it in mind as something that's supposed to put across positive messages, and the jokes, there's cursing and there's, dick jokes or whatever, but it's like, it's mostly like pretty clever wordplay humor, even though they're far and few between. This isn't a show. No. I'm complimenting this Saved by the Bell reboot, but it's not like I'm sitting here saying I'm going to watch this over and over and it's a fantastic effort. I think, and I don't know how much of this is because I thought it would be considerably worse, but I appreciate the inclusiveness of the show and like the effort to write less easy jokes. And as we talked about earlier, to not go low bar when you are a reboot that you're going to have a lot of eyeballs on and you're on Netflix and not easily making a gay joke or easily making, you know, a sexist joke or something like that. So I don't know. Neither of them are exactly good television.
No. In the right mood, they can be enjoyable, I would say.
Yes. And if I was going to watch either, despite everything I said, if I was going to pick one to watch, it would be the old series because I'd be reliving childhood memories ultimately. But I just wanted to give the new one a shout out for what it does right, even though ultimately, yeah, it's what it is.
The premise of the new show.
It's a Saved by the Bell reboot.
The premise of this show, the reboot, is not something where if it didn't have the connection to the old one that you would have ever put it on.
I would have never watched it.
Like
which is how they're hooking
If
people.
someone said, you know, what that show was about, like a bunch of teens in that situation, and you didn't have the nostalgia, you're not watching that. And
no.
That's key to keep in mind. You know, with that in mind, knowing what it is, I was curious, and then it was like, well, it's only 10 episodes. Why not just go ahead and see this thing through?
Yeah.
And it has a few moments that surprise you, that actually make you laugh. And like I said, I like Lexi. I like Jamie. I like those characters because they're dumb and they're not, it's not an accurate way that anyone would be, but the personality quirks that they give them, the actors seem to do a pretty good job of presenting it. And it just works in its own casual, dumb, fun way.
And also me watching this new series means I get to stay a Saved by the Bell completist.
That's true, yeah. That's
yeah, you've already seen them, yeah. This is the first one we've covered that is not over. Steven Universe is recent, but this show is brand new still. It's only one season in, so we don't know if it's going to have just 2 seasons or 5 or...
We'll revisit it in a few years.
It could be going for a while. We don't know what it could end up being, you know, it could get a lot better or it could immediately be terrible and be done after the second season. It's a mystery. We don't know how it's going to go, but I thought that I didn't want to do just 2 episodes of Saved by the Bell when we have so many shows that were in that time period that were just like that.
Oh, and this is great. No, this was an excellent experience to
it
go
was.
through the 2 and contrast, compare. So really
I
like
wish
that.
we could have gotten Zach and Kelly in one, but that would have been tough. That way you could have actually seen their recent versions.
I wonder if, because I disliked the reboot so much, it's given me a little bit more rose-colored glasses of the old series.
It could be.
Because after watching that first episode of the old one, I was just like, ugh, this is bad.
It was not a good episode.
And I think that show, honestly, I would dislike it even more if I hadn't seen this one and just been so... It's hard to say I don't like it. It's more to say it's just, what did I just watch? I'm just not impressed. This didn't captivate me. Didn't catch my attention. I thought it was boring. And I'll never watch it again.
That's kind of why I was like what I was saying about like I think it's for like middle schoolers essentially because like there's enough edge for a middle schooler and you're teaching good lessons.
That's
like effectively.
I get where you're coming from.
I do think a lot of it feels like empty entertainment to us because like I mean we're all old men. You know, we know everything.
We have so much knowledge. We don't need any of this. Do you guys have any last thoughts about Saved by the Bell? As I told you last time, we'll never get to talk about it again. Ever again.
In the words of the theme song, it's all right.
So in that case, it's time to do what we always do then. And Brian, are you going to tell us what you're covering?
I'm excited to hear what Brian has to choose here to cover.
For our next show, what's this? I just got an email.
No, you better read that right now. It's super important.
Yeah, this is from corporate, from Boob Tube Boys corporate.
Is it Shelly in HR? Oh. Just tell her I've kept my hands to myself this time.
Yeah, well, that is the first part of the email, and so I'll make sure that Shelly does know that. However, no, it looks like actually there's a little bit of a plan afoot in the corporate landscape. So we're doing a little switcheroo here, according to corporate, and we're all, for this next round of shows, we're picking each other's shows.
There's not going to be any more host bias here.
So tonight, off the top of his head, with no advance notice other than this email I just got, Spencer has to select a show for me to cover. Then next time around, I'm going to have to select a show for Van to cover, and Van is going to have to select one for Spencer.
Yeah, and this could be, interesting in the future. Doing this, we could mix it up. I will pick for Van next time, something like that, instead of continually going.
And I know I have you guys fooled, but I'm gonna break the fourth wall. This is a thing we've planned, and I am really excited to find out what has been selected for me. What is it, Spencer? What is it?
This is gonna be really interesting. I hope that it works. If it doesn't, it's my fault. Although I as I mentioned to you guys before, normally it's just me who looks stupid if I pick a show that doesn't work, like 21 Jump Street or
Columbo, I think it works.
Columbo
just
being
in
9
a
hours
different
long.
way.
Yeah, it's different. I take chances. I take risks. You guys play it much more safe.
You are a real risk taker. I will give you that one. That's the first thing I think of.
Going out past the breakers every time.
What I'm saying is that it doesn't always work. So this guy could be putting you in that situation right now, and you're just going to have to do your best. Give me a chance here before you shed all over this idea.
Like I usually do.
Now, here's what I decided, is we do need to try and bite off a reality TV show.
All right.
So the premise of this one is much like any reality TV show where you got some situation, and in this case, it's like consultants that come in and help you through it so your problem's fixed.
No. Is this what I keep going?
Yeah. I think you're probably right.
I'm actually glad.
I was worried that
I'm glad that you selected this for me, as I have the least working knowledge of even what reality shows are.
These consultants are very well regarded. They're professionals. Oh, he knows.
I don't have a clue
what I think it is. And
he knows. It's a reboot of an old Bravo show in 2003. It's on Netflix now.
Oh, okay.
It's not what you thought?
No, I just wanted to make sure it was available to watch.
I wonder if the audience knows. Audience, do you know?
Yeah, well, so this is a reboot started in 2013, is still going. So we got another one that's still ongoing. It is Queer Eye.
Yeah, let's do it.
And
I'm fashionable. Now, as we speak, I'm wearing a plain black t-shirt that's too big and Walmart shorts, because I don't know what kind of shorts you can wear now. And then
I only wear the gym ones.
My socks do look fucking cool, so I will give them that. They look like they're powering up.
A real quick summary of it. You will be introducing it to us next week, but just to kind of give you an idea of it, they're not just fashion professionals. They call them the Fab Five, and these are really.
I thought that was the Michigan basketball team.
It's a new Fab Five. These are gay ones, and they're very highly regarded in their industries. They're professionals in their craft. I didn't write
professional
down.
gays.
You'll have to introduce us to them next week. But one of them's like a fashion expert.
One of them's a tank operator.
One of them's a grooming expert. One of them's
construction worker.
A cultural expert. A wine expert. They all have their
Indian.
Thing. They all have their
what
industry.
You're doing now.
And they're very well regarded. They all have followings on Twitter. Everyone respects their word, and they're coming in and they're helping these unfortunate people that need a makeover in their life. And they're
Do they
giving
each
them
have
advice.
a catchphraise?
I don't think so.
Bazinga!
You presume that I've seen all of these. Whereas
yeah, like
I have watched one independently a couple years ago, and it's just what you think. It's all the same kind of shows. Someone's really sad. They get help from, in this case, a team of gay experts who helps them rebuild their life, and they have they work through some really serious issues with these people. If it's real, I don't know.
Like cufflinks.
Yeah, they give them a physical makeover and a lifestyle makeover. It's heartwarming. They change their life for the better. And these gay people know what they're talking about. You'll learn and will learn along with you. So I picked 2 episodes. We'll do season 3, episode 7, Sloth to Slay. And this is a sweet but shy gamer who spent his life in front of a screen, finds the courage to make new friends and find his tribe. And this, by the way, these seasons take place in Missouri. So this is a Missouri. This is a Missouri gamer.
Theming it.
This is a Missouri gamer.
I wasn't on this show. Why does it sound an awful lot like me?
Are you a gamer who's spent most of your life in front of a screen?
Yeah, of course. You know me.
And then we've got season 4, episode 3. I love this. Stoner Skates By.
Okay,
is this about me?
Half of that is either Brian or I.
So his 10-year-old daughter calls him a man-child. And she's the one who called for the Fab Five to help her dad.
Get the gays on the line. We've got a problem to solve.
So his 10-year-old daughter calls him a man-child, but can this larger-than-life single dad grow up and become the adult she needs him to be? So
I hope so for her sake. It's tough growing up in this world.
They're going to come over and they're going to
post-truth world.
They're going to knock the weed out of his mouth, presumably, and they're going to get him off his skateboard and they're going to tell him to grow up and raise your daughter right. So,
which to me, if somebody says take away the weed and
get the weed out of your mouth,
I know I'm dealing with a villain.
Yeah, especially your skateboard. You're really dedicated.
All the time. I was doing tricks for you guys before we started recording.
You do a great 360 always.
If there's anything anybody says about me, it's what a coordinated athlete I am.
I was mistaken. Group of professionals doing blah blah blah.
Yeah, what did you think it was?
I thought you were going to do Shark Tank, which is that Donald Trump show, right?
Yeah, Mark Cuban,
or The Apprentice or whatever. That the Trump one's the one I was thinking of.
I think that's The Apprentice. And no, I wouldn't. I don't want.
I think you're thinking of the State of the Union.
Oh, that's the one
from the past few years. Unfortunately,
we would all get too triggered if we tried to do a show with Trump, and that's not a good idea. So let's talk about professional gays instead. And we're going to learn a lot. I feel like we're all gonna come out of it better people.
We're gonna look better. We're gonna have style.
I hope I learned something about how to deal with amounts of body hair that could actually fill entire rooms.
Yeah, I'm sure that one guy, Jonathan Van Ness or whatever his name is, he's a grooming expert. So we're going to
call
learn
him the
from
Loch
him.
Ness Monster.
I don't think so. We
grooming expert.
Grooming expert.
That's what they went with.
He's got a nice beard in here. You'll see.
Okay.
These are like 45 minutes, so be ready.
I've honed my craft. I've become the greatest grooming expert this side of Philadelphia.
We're going to be watching an hour and a half of gay experts tell people how to make their lives better.
The problem is Katie might get hooked on this fucking show.
Oh, she will.
And I'm going to end up watching so much of it.
She's going to be excited about this development.
She might already know about it.
She might, yeah.
Yeah, but this
may be another one where Katie's like, I've seen the whole series.
I can't wait to hear how you tackle this next week.
I'm going to tackle it with aplomb.
That's all we've got this time. We've given you a big teaser to look forward to next week, but for now, we're going to wrap this thing up. We thank you guys for listening. Again, you can find us on social media, reach out to us, review our wonderful podcast, tell the world about us, help people know how wonderful we are the way you already know. You can find me, Spencer Hendricks, on Twitter. I'm at the number 3 French_hen. Brian is Loud Guitar Brian. Van is Manly Vanley. And you can check us out on booptubeboys.com. We're on Instagram. We also have you can find our site itself on Twitter, just Boob Tube Boys. And we also have booptubeboys.com. Send us your money on Patreon, patreon.com/Bootu Inc. We appreciate it. We are happy to provide content for you. And the more you interact with us, the better we'll do at it. Give us a little bit of motivation to not just be talking to ourselves. So thank you guys for listening. We'll be back with you next week with a really interesting twist in the show.